One of our most frequently asked questions is whether a case falls under the legal definition of severe form of trafficking in persons. CAS Training and Technical Assistance Team has modified the traditional process means end model or action means purpose model to assist advocates in identifying whether their client's case falls within this legal definition. The ends means purpose model, or EMP model, is a helpful tool that walks through a logical process to think through the legal definition of trafficking by flipping the traditional model and instead focusing on the intentional actions of the perpetrator. In focusing on the perpetrator's actions, we can analyze whether the overt actions of the perpetrator were for the purpose of labor or sex trafficking. If you're unfamiliar with some of the terminology in this video, it may be helpful to start with our Human Trafficking Defined e-learning course, where we explain the legal definition of trafficking in depth. Let's take a look at how to use this model by going over a case example. Jane, an immigration attorney, has just had a consultation with a potential client. She wants to know whether her client's case could be a trafficking case for T visa purposes. In her consultation, she learns that her client borrowed $2,000 from his sister so that he could live and work in the US. The sister told her brother that he could stay in her home until he got on his feet. Once in the US, the sister made him cook, clean, and take care of her children in order to pay off his debt. If he didn't do this, the sister would hit him or lock him in a room. Whenever the brother asked if he had done enough work to pay off his debt, the sister would tell him that he still owed money for rent and food. When his sister was drunk, she would hit her brother for no reason. He lived with his sister for 5 years. During that time, he could not leave the house without permission. The sister also told him that if he tried to leave, immigration would catch him. Using the EMP model, Jane begins looking at the end and writing down the services her client had to do in the sister's home. She can clearly identify the cooking, cleaning, and child care. She also notes in the box that the client does this work to pay off the money he borrowed from his sister. Jane uses the services to identify the type of end and checks off involuntary servitude for the duties in the household and debt bondage because the sister uses the debt to make her brother perform the household duties. Now, moving left to right, she answers the questions in each of the remaining elements. Under the means category, Jane reviews the actions the sister took to make sure her client did the duties in the home. She also looks at what the sister would do or threaten to do if the client didn't perform the services. Jane identifies the following. Her client was kept in the house unable to leave, told that if he left he would be caught by immigration, the debt amount never decreased, he was physically assaulted if he didn't do what he was told, and he was locked in a room if he didn't do what he was asked. While Jane notes that the sister would hit her brother when she was drunk, she does not yet put this in the model because she cannot easily connect it back to the duties her client had to do. Jane can use the facts she identified to check off the force and coercion boxes. While she suspects there is also fraud, she decides to wait to check off that particular box until she gets more facts from the client. Next, Jane takes on the process column to look at the intentional actions the sister took to get the victim in the situation. The fact that her sister didn't let her leave the brother's house without permission allows Jane to check off the harboring box. Now that Jane has completed all the columns, she can easily summarize her client's trafficking experience. The summarize box helps Jane to succinctly explain the trafficking and create a theory for her case. Jane's summarized statement is the following. The victim was harbored for the purpose of involuntary servitude or debt bondage, specifically domestic servitude, through the use of force and coercion, such as physical assault, being held in a home without the ability to leave, and warned that if he tried to leave, he would be caught by immigration. Jane has identified human trafficking, but she will still need to go back and interview her client to strengthen certain elements. Jane can now use this model to evaluate the new facts she learns and make sure that the perpetrator's actions were for the purpose of making her client work. The EMP model helped Jane to map out the facts that she received from her client in a logical manner. Jane can see on one page that all the elements of severe form of trafficking are met, while also ensuring that she has clearly identified the theory of her case. Now that Jane has identified her client as a victim of severe form of trafficking in persons, she has enough information to start the T visa process and can help her client begin to access support services to address his trafficking victimization. So if you have a potential trafficking client, give the EMP model a try.